Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 19th of April. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane. How are we getting on, Jonny?
Good, mate. Still needing a haircut, as I can see when I look back at myself on this screen. I've been trying to get a haircut at my local barber for about 6 days, but every time I go down there, Derek, it's one of those things. You go down and there's about 5 people in front of you, and you're just like, I've sat and waited like twice, spent 50 minutes both times, and just been like, nah, this is just, life's too short.
Get the wife to do it at number one all over, Jonny.
Yeah, I'm too ugly for that, mate. It's just, it's look at this face, mate. Nah, you want to try and hide it as much as you can. That's why I tend to grow my beard out. You just got to try and cover up all this pasty whiteness.
Ditto. Before we look at all the Rangers news, folks, just about housekeeping. If you're watching us on YouTube, thousands of you are, just hit that subscribe button. It means you'll never miss a video when we go live. And the offer we've got on the Rangers Review site, fantastic deal, £1 for 2 months worth of content. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Not only that, you now get entered into a prize draw for a signed first team jersey signed by the entire squad. So what a cracking prize we have on offer. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Just £1 for 2 months worth of content, and we'll stick the link in the comment section just now, so you can just click on that and then it'll take you to the page that you need to go to. Okay, Jonny, fallout from the Scottish Cup semi-final win continues. To be honest, I mean, I was off yesterday, but I found that some of the comments on social media and what have you over the top with regards to criticising Bobby Madden for his performance. I've got to admit, when I was watching the game live on Sunday, I didn't think he was absolutely outstanding, but at the same time, I don't think he deserves to be the talk of the match. It's beyond belief. I found it quite staggering, to be honest with you, how he's front and centre of the game. What have you made of the reaction to Rangers' victory on Sunday?
Yeah, well, it's been absolutely bonkers. The most over-the-top reaction to a refereeing performance I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Bobby Madden did not make any decisions that fundamentally altered the course of that game. Well, he made one, actually, which was when Rio Hitati was put through, even though Daisen Maeda was clearly offside. If that had gone in, then that would have had a fundamental impact on the game. But he made mistakes for both teams. And Cal McGregor, for example, should have been booked in the first minute if we're talking about allowing tackles to go. And listen, I'm sympathetic. I thought he did allow too much physicality. He could have booked players. Cal McGregor being booked first up, that's a perfect example. John Lundstrom, how he got through the game without a booking, I do not know.
Yeah.
But it was, as Andy Halliday said, I think last night, it was one of those games where you could pick a dozen refereeing performances in the last month that would have been worse than that one. And, it's led primarily by cheerleader, let's just name him and shame him, Chris Sutton, who all through the broadcast on Premier Sports decided that the narrative was going to be Bobby Madden. You can interchange them, really, based on how it's been in recent years. And he just went after him throughout the broadcast. And Kevin Thompson, good on him, he stuck up for Bobby Madden. But the thing is about these situations is you have to be a little bit realistic. Referees are in a horrific situation where they have to make calls based on split-second viewings of incidents. We know how hard that is. How many times have you sat down, you seen something, you shouted for a foul, and then you look at it again, you go, maybe not.
Yeah.
And on top of that, these guys are real people. They live lives. And to soak up all this nonsense, and the vast majority of it is nonsense, it's dangerous. It's actually dangerous. And there's plenty of examples where referees have been given or put in very difficult situations in the real world because this kind of ferment is stoked up. And it's totally wrong. And Sutton's been at it on Twitter since. Now, I think he sort of dialed back a little bit in one of his columns that he's put out. And I don't mind criticism. I need to stress this, Derek.
Yeah.
I don't mind criticism of Bobby Madden.
Yeah.
see when you're putting out tweets that Celtic's performance is addressed in 3 words, and the rest of the tweet, the other 23 words, are about Bobby Madden. You either don't understand football, or you're pursuing an agenda. It's as simple as that, and it's rotten. And there's a million things to talk about in that game. I thought it was a fascinating game tactically. It was a fascinating game, I would imagine, for the neutral, because it was end to end. Both teams were playing a high wire act in terms of the high press that they were encountering. There wasn't that many shots on goal, but I thought it was engrossing. And to come away with it and just to spend the entire time talking about Bobby Madden when you're a professional pundit, just out of order, I thought. Really out of order.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's pantomime, and to be honest, I'm probably falling into the trap of getting wound up by it, because you should just probably ignore it. But I think it's fine for Celtic fans to be complaining about the referee. That's totally acceptable, and Rangers fans would complain about the referee as well. But for a professional pundit to be going on about it, just basically that's all he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's just dangerous. It's irresponsible. And you wouldn't get that down south when he's on. He just doesn't get up to these hijinks.
Yeah.
So there's an infantilizing of the Scottish football fan in terms of the way he goes about his punditry. And I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. That's part of the reason we started the Rangers Review. We wanted to do something a little bit different. We didn't want to spend the entire time talking about this nonsense. I know I'm going on a complete rant now.
No, but Johnny, I wanted. Yeah, I was going to come in there and say that here at the Rangers Review. I mean, we look in depth at the analysis of the actual game, as opposed to this, as you mentioned, panto surrounding Bobby Madden. I mean, we look at it in great detail. There's 2 brilliant articles on there this morning. One, how James Tavernier and Connor Goldson defined the result. Another one saying, looking at John McLaughlin's performance and posing the question, should he be the number 1 after that showing? Whereas everywhere else that I've seen, it's just Bobby Madden this, Bobby Madden that. And you're right, I was driving home yesterday and I was thinking to myself, Bobby Madden is a human being. He's having to go home to his family and what have you. He's having to go out and carry on with his life with this hanging over him, being chastised left, right and centre. And it is dangerous. He's walking... He has to go to the supermarket like everybody else, and here, there, and everywhere. And he's getting this image that he's biased. And I mean, you're seeing that Alan Thompson's tweet as well, saying that does he support Rangers? Dangerous comments that are just. You're right, Johnny, that they should be ignored, but it whips supporters up into a frenzy, and it's dangerous for the individual concerned.
And here's the truth: at total odds with the class shown by the Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou, who came out, he was asked, what do you have to say about the referee's performance? And he said, it was just what you expect in a derby match. It's what you expect in a semi-final. And I have no complaints about it. You know, Ange Postecoglou's not said a single thing about referees. I mean, that's class.
Yeah.
But a number of ex-players have just come out, and I think we've got to be fair and say it's perfectly reasonable to discuss the referee. But come on. It's the manner in which they've done it over talking about the game in any way, and prioritising it as a narrative of the game, that Celtic lost the game because of that. And I think we've seen a bit of a backlash. I know, listen, a lot of the media outlets I've seen, Derek, they have actually addressed that and said, no, it wasn't why Celtic lost the game, and we can discuss it. And I actually listened to a Celtic podcast because I wanted to get an understanding of how they were viewing the game. And the Celtic podcast that I listened to went 40 minutes without discussing Bobby Madden, and then in the last 10 minutes discussed it. My bugbear on this is these ex-players who have been very, very irresponsible. They know what Scotland's like, and it's absolutely rotten. But anyway, that's the last. Let's not pollute the airwaves for this anymore.
Yeah, let's move on, because a number of interesting questions come in the comments here, Johnny. Now, there's one I wanted to touch on because it ties in with a piece we've got on the website this morning with regards to John McLaughlin. Great analysis piece from Joshua Barry. Josh Henderson gets in touch. Hi, Josh. What do you guys think about McLaughlin as the number 1 after McGregor? Probably retires at the end of the season. McCrory as understudy. For me, McLaughlin, I touched on this on the video at Hampden following the game. A bit shaky to begin with, but Rangers were playing a high pressure game where they're trying to invite Celtic onto them. There was a point when Connor Goldson was really frustrated with McLaughlin's distribution. but it takes balls to play like that from the back, Johnny, and that's why I think McLaughlin was selected as opposed to Alan McGregor as a Scottish Cup goalkeeper, and it worked well on Sunday. Where do you stand on this viewpoint? I thought he was commanded his area, came out and caught cross balls. I would have no qualms about McLaughlin taking over from McGregor. The big question, I think, has been posed by some supporters is, should he stay between the sticks between now and the end of the season?
So I posed this question on Twitter, and I would have to say the vast majority of responses came back that Jordan McLaughlin should now stay in the team. And I totally respect that position. And as Billy McGrath was saying in the comments there, he gave the team a different dimension. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The way he claimed the ball, he was so confident in catching it. He was excellent with his punching. They were putting balls on top of him at the end of the game with maybe 5 minutes to go. And both times he got there with his fists, came out and tried to take the ball and commanded his area in a way that I don't think Alan McGregor does. And that really, really helped Rangers. I'd be tempted, I've got to be honest, Derek, to keep him in. People talk about him being a really, really good sweeper keeper and being really confident at his feet. I have to say there were times in the game where I thought that was challenged.
Yeah.
Rangers were really, really asking a lot of him with that regard. He was taking the ball in quite dangerous situations. But overall, most of the time, he did really well in that regard. He had a shaky moment in the first half that made me start to be a little bit concerned about this kind of narrative that he's really good with the ball at his feet. But generally, I've got to say, I think he was. And despite not being really challenged from a sense of shot stopping, I thought his overall performance was just, it just gave you confidence, didn't it? It was very assured. And I think, I think I would have to say on the basis of that, I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has got a really good decision to make. And when I say a good decision, I mean, it's exactly what you want. You want to be really, really torn between two players. That's the perfect scenario for a manager. And I'm sure that's how you'll feel. Whether or not he'll do it, I don't think so. I think he'll keep McGregor in.
Yeah, me too.
He's got him this far. McGregor's a wonderful shot stopper. And I think Gio will stick with that. But I don't doubt for a second that he's going, what if?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, and certainly for next season. I know there's been a lot of talk in who comes in to potentially replace McGregor. For me, John McLaughlin deserves the opportunity to come in and be his deputy and take over that number one spot. And I think I would love to see, like many supporters, see him given an opportunity to start the season. Some comments coming in here, John. This is a story that I've seen this morning doing the rounds about Alex Lowry. Now, I'll need to stand this up with the club a little later on. Apparently, Newcastle interested in Alex Lowry. It's no surprise to me that this Premier League club's sniffing about him. He's a supreme talent. Of course, he's not signed that new contract with Rangers as yet. It would be a huge boost if Rangers can try and get him tied down, wouldn't it? Don't want to lose him in another a la Billy Gilmore situation.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me that Newcastle are interested in Alex Lowry. In fact, I'd be surprised if Newcastle are the only Premier League club interested in Alex Lowry. And, when you've got a contract that's coming to its end in the way this is, there's always going to be people sniffing about, especially in a post-Brexit world, when it's much more difficult for the Premier League clubs to go to Europe and pick up the best talent. They're going to come here. It's something that I've been aware of from the moment Brexit happened. I thought this would happen. The Scottish clubs are going to find it even more difficult to hold on to their best talent. And I think that's the way it's proving. We'll find out, and we'll get back to you on that tomorrow, John. But it's going to be the case that clubs are going to try and sneak him away. He's an 18-year-old with phenomenal talent. He's already made an impact in the first team. But I have to be honest, and I would say this all the time to 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It doesn't matter if it's Rangers or if it's Newcastle or if it's West Brom or Manchester United. The most important thing for a kid at that age is game time. So they should go wherever there is a strong pathway to that first team. And that should mean Rangers in this circumstance. But if he's provided a better pathway, then his advisors will tell him to go there.
Yeah.
On top of whatever the financial offer is made. If there's a very, very big financial offer to go to Newcastle, then perhaps that'll sway it.
Yeah.
But the more important thing for me is the amount of players between 18 and 22 who find their career skewered after it was looking extremely promising in the younger age group, 16, 17, 18. And sometimes these guys don't recover from it. Perfect example would be John Fleck. One of the most talented young players that's come through at Ibrox in the last 30 years. People were talking to me about him. I wasn't in journalism at the time, but just people that I knew who'd seen youth games were talking about him when he was 13, 14, 15. I remember Derek Johnson talking about him on Radio Clyde when he was 15, saying, this guy's the Scottish Wayne Rooney. And you just don't hear that sort of stuff very often.
Yeah.
And he was thrown in, I think 16 in a cup final, then 17 he started to play week in, week out, but then it kind of went off a cliff for him. And when the financial problems happened in 2012, he went down south. Already hadn't really been working at Rangers. And it took him a while to rebuild his career. And listen, you're operating in the north of England at that point, so you know better than anyone how he managed to piece back together his career.
Yeah.
But I just think it's really important at that age that you're getting minutes under your belt and you're starting to understand the little things you need to know as a professional to get your game to a place where you can show your skills.
Yeah. Well, he went to Coventry and away from the limelight in the Goldfish Bowl of Glasgow, and he prospered. He did really well, and then, of course, the rest is history when he went to Sheffield United. When you made that comparison there, Johnny, who cares who commented in here? Lowry, the next Jim Baxter. Now, there's a comparison and a half. I think that's a bit outlandish, but he's certainly a supreme talent and high hopes. There's certainly high hopes for him. CGM55 says when his current deal end, May 2023, so not this summer, but the summer after. So I think tying him down on a longer term deal would be absolutely vital to not only ward against the other clubs coming in for him, but you want to keep your best talent at Rangers, don't you? At the end of the day, you've reared him through your own. He's done well when he's come in the first team in the Scottish Cup performances. And I would love to see him get a bit of a run out from here on until the end of the season in the league. I think he really deserves it. So, watch this space with regards to that. And we'll try and get a more concrete answer on that for tomorrow. Just before we go, Johnny, I've seen murmurings that, Rangers were looking to get the Motherwell game moved. It's scheduled for Sunday to the Saturday. It would help, of course, there's no doubt about it, with regards to the Leipzig game a week on Thursday. I think it makes sense if it was brought forward. Would you agree? Yeah,
it looks like Motherwell, and credit to them, have been really, really helpful in terms of negotiations on that. Looks like they are absolutely happy for that to proceed. Basically, it's now down to the police and Sky. Yeah. So you've got to hope that that's something that they can put in place. And listen, credit to the SPFL if that's the case, Derek, for helping out on that one. We know how difficult it can be in Scottish football to get agreement on these situations. It's not a big ask, but if they get it across the line, you've got to give them credit, give them a pat on the back, say, look, Rangers have asked for it. Motherwell, the SPFL have delivered, and that's a big move forward and a big help to just get that extra day of recovery. It allows you enough time to really get a little bit more R&R into the legs, especially during such a busy period.
Yeah.
But one thing I think we can't deny now, Derek, after this game, we cannot question Rangers' fitness.
No.
You've got to say to those guys in the sports science department at Rangers, my goodness, haven't you just earned your corn? Because we could all see with our own eyes in that last half an hour of the Celtic game just how fit these boys are. Now, there's a stat. Now, I don't want to bore anyone, so I'll try and keep it really, really straightforward. But it's a stat that measures pressing. So how often you chase the ball down, how often you attack the man to try and get the ball. It's called PPDA. And the lower the number that you get on that, the better your press is, the more aggressive it is. And Marcelo Bielsa's sides, his lead sides in the Championship, were notorious for their crazy pressing. We're getting about 5.5 PPDA. Rangers in the first half against Celtic were 6.2. In the second half, they were around 4, and that includes extra time. They were basically whirling dervishes, Tasmanian devils in that second half. Statistical anomaly stuff. It was absolutely insane. So that is how fit that Rangers were. They were able to not only do both games, but in the second half of the second game, they were able to increase the intensity on Celtic, to increase their effort and their work rate. And I thought that was spectacular. And here's statistics. Not for everyone. Tom McTaggart is telling me it's a load of BS. But the facts are that it proves what the eye sees. So it's a fact.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important, because, Tom, you could come and say that your opinion is that Celtic pressed higher than Rangers. And we could say, well, that's not our opinion, but it's all about opinions, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not about opinions, it's fact.
Yeah.
And that's what's important about stats. It allows you to understand how the match went and back it up with stats.
Yeah, and that's what we like to do at the Rangers Review, folks. And we've got that great offer on just now. Just £1 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk and you also get entered into a prize draw for a signed first team jersey. What an offer it is right now.
Derek, just a button on that, right? Now, I know nobody would ever want to sell that. But imagine that is a signed first team jersey of the Rangers team that won the Europa League.
Incredible.
I mean, imagine owning that framed. That is going to be a piece of club history perennially. So, incredible.
It certainly is. And here's hoping that that outcome comes true come the 18th of May. Of course, Leipzig has to be negotiated first, which won't be easy, but what a great couple of games to look forward to. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, folks, but until then, enjoy